Hello! So today I'm going to be sharing a tutorial for this makeup look. Kind of an everyday gothic look. I'm hesitant to say everyday because my makeup changes every day, whether it's something simple as lipstick or extra eyeshadow colours, no eyeshadow, it's not the same every day. But this is a pretty basic kind of look that you can expand upon. A lot of the things are interchangeable with different colours that you want, different products that you want to use, so it's quite just a simple basic gothic look with sort of a black smoky eye, lip, basic foundation and base and stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. I've done Nivea cream just like all over my face to start with, and then I'm also just going to use with that like any old sun cream. This is just some random like 50 SPF one. I recommend using a cream one if you're using quite a thick cream on your face. Even if the foundation you're using has SPF in it, I'd still say putting on some SPF. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 50, it could be an even smaller one if you've already got a foundation, or like cream with an SPF like 20 or 30 in it, but I still recommend doing a proper SPF as well. And then I'm just going to use any old lip balm on my lips. This is just like a Manuka honey one. I don't necessarily do this every day, but it is my most common kind of like hack that I do. I mix two foundations. So I first of all mix the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define in the shade like F0. I don't know if they still make this. You can still get it online, but I think it's out of stock on their website. I don't know what I'm going to do if they stop making this. This is my favourite white foundation, and then I mix it with the Makeup Academy Pro Base in the shade 100, which is like the palest that it gets. But it's still not like a perfect white. This is what I use on its own, and then sometimes I'll go in with the white, kind of mix them together. I very rarely do just pure white, it's not my personal style, but just go in with whatever foundation you want to use. I start with about this much kind of dotted across my face, and then I also just then go in with the white one. It's kind of this big doe foot applicator, and just do smaller, because I don't want to make a perfect 50-50 mix, but there is definitely a difference to it. Just with a damp beauty blender or sponge, or whatever you find easiest, you're just going to want to blend them together. I just go over everything, eyelashes, lips. It doesn't really matter. My mirror is like just here. If you see me like continually looking off to this direction, that's why. Blend into the neck as well. It's gonna look a bit patchy when you're using a lot of foundation. It's only ever gonna look really good if you're using filters or skin smoothing online, and like in person, especially up close, you're gonna see texture and patchiness. It's just part of it. If you want to avoid that, you could use like less foundation, no foundation, like that is an option as well. Do what's most comfortable for you and what you're comfortable with, but don't feel frustrated if you're doing this and it doesn't look as good as mine on camera. Because in person I can see the texture on it. I'm just kind of going to start going down my neck, and just because of the top I've got on, it's quite wide, I'm kind of going to buff. I don't cover it completely. I don't really mind the colour difference, most people don't notice, but I do like to make my neck a similar-ish colour. And then I'll also just carefully dab on around my ears. My hair flips over this side, whereas this side, my shaved side, is like visible, so I just do this here, but if I'm tying my hair up I will do both. I need to invest in like a light that I can see properly, because I'm kind of working by candlelight, which isn't really the greatest light in the world, but it is what it is, I guess. Now that I've blended that out, I'm going to go back with the Conceal and Define. I don't know if they do concealer versions of this, but I just use the foundation and put like a small dot of it under my eyes. Turn it more on this one. I just blend this out. It acts as a concealer and just a brightener for that area. I've just blended that in and around my eyes. It hasn't done much. It might not look like much on camera, but it's just slightly brightened it up and got rid of any kind of residual dark circles. I'm now just going to take any powder. This is the Invisible Silk one that I use from Makeup Academy again, or MUA Makeup Academy I guess. They're a pretty cheap UK based drugstore brand. Most of my stuff I get from drugstore or Beauty Bay, mainly Superdrug. I don't shop too much on like Sephora or really any high-end makeup brands. I have a few like high-end or like slightly higher-end palettes that I occasionally dip into and use, but they're often gifted. Stuff I'll ask for Christmas or my birthday. And I'm gonna take quite a lot of powder, and I'm initially just gonna go in with like a big powder brush and just kind of like everywhere. It's gonna be messy. You can probably see all of the powder flying everywhere, and it flies all down my shirt and everywhere on my desk. It's kind of the only way I find that I can make my foundation stay very long. I don't like using primers. I've never found one that works for me personally. I would recommend for powder, if you're going to be using a lot of it like me, because I'm buying sometimes a pot of this every 2 to 3 weeks. You can get on Beauty Bay this really big like 85 gram pot of powder for like 20 quid, and that lasted me like 3 months, which I know seems like not very long for like 85 grams of powder, but these that are like 16 grams are lasting me like a week, 2 weeks sometimes, so it is what it is. And like I said in the beginning, I don't really have a specific daily makeup. I switch it up every day, but this is my kind of most basic. The one I do most often, I'd say. Sorry if you can hear my neighbour's dog barking. I'm just taking like a little triangle powder puff with powder and dabbing that on under my eyes. It's kind of the second layer. And then just taking whatever's left in my tub, pulling it down my neck and onto my ears. Really making sure I've got everything kind of set in place and very, very matte. This is a matte powder, I think. It might be a satin one, I'm not fully sure. To me it looks all matte, and then I'm just wiping off what's under my eyes. Okay, for my contour, I usually go in with the Jeffree Star Cremated palette, which is pretty fucking old and beat now. Like, there's barely some of these shades any left, but I go in with this one right here. And I just take this on this brush very, very gently. I'm just going to kind of go in very, very gently with not much product on my brush, and just kind of carving out slightly around my cheeks and under my chin, and then just kind of gently connecting them and up around this bit here. But as you can see, just kind of up and under the chin, connecting them down there. I don't do any nose or forehead contour. Contour how you want with what you want. Again, this is just what I'm using. This is the most nerve-wracking part for anyone who doesn't have eyebrows like myself. It's eyebrow time. There are a few different ways I do this, and it depends on what products I've got available, how thin / sharp my eyebrow pencils are and my eyeliner pencils are, and what style of brow that I'm doing, because I switch between a few different styles. I have a brand new unopened black eyeliner pencil. Any butt pencil will do. This is my all-time favourite. It's £3 from Superdrug, and I just think it gives some of the best payoff. It's very, very soft. I don't have to press nearly as much as I do with other ones. But I now can't open it because of my nails.
An eternity later.
These two little beauties are what I use for my eyebrows. I've got the e.l.f. like just kind of dip pot eyeliner. The e.l.f. dip pot eyeliner, and then this black Makeup Revolution eye pencil. So I'm just going to start by mapping out the eye shape with a pencil. I'd normally do this with eyeliner, but as this one is like right at the beginning of its life, it's really nice and sharp. So I'm just going to do this while looking into my mirror, because I will not be able to do it very well. Now I've got like a basic shape, I just go back in with the like black eyeliner liquid. So with my little e.l.f. eyeliner pot, I just dip it in and then just kind of like go over my eyebrows, make them darker, even, probably thinner as well. Using a flat brush like that, and then just my white, I'm just going to go back in and kind of carve out more down the underside than round the top. Mastering brows is a feat that takes a lot of time and patience. I've had no eyebrows for like 4 and a bit years at this point, and before that I had like none of the end of my eyebrows. So I've been working with like less or none eyebrow for a good 6 years now, and it still doesn't come very easily to me. Truth be fucking told, it still doesn't come very easily to me. So for the eyes eyeshadow eyeliner, for example, I'm just going to start with taking my like black pencil, doesn't have to be too sharp, and just going in for like a waterline and just kind of like tight lining my eyes with this. I'm pretty thickly lining the bottom of my eyes, and I'm going to slightly thinner of the top. This doesn't have to be perfect, as it just needs to be kind of quick, and it's making sure that you don't see any kind of weird gaps of white. This is basically just kind of like a black, smoky, raccoon-esque eye. So to do the eyes, I'm just going to be using this Skepta palette, which was the Vivien's collaboration with Be Perfect. R.I.P. Queen. And then I'm going to be taking, you can probably guess what shade, this black shade here, which has been used so badly. There's a massive pan of it, like it's like 2 regular eyeshadow pans full. It's very, very pigmented, very easy to blend. It does have a little bit of fallout, but you can tap that off. And then I'm just going to be taking kind of my lid and just circular back and forward motions on the closed part of the lid. I'm dipping back in quite regularly to the palette. So this is how the kind of first stage of the eye will look. It's quite dense and packed. I'm now gonna go in with a slightly wider fluffy brush that kind of has this look to it. I'm not joking, this brush is over 11 years old. Just to make anyone feel gross. I have cleaned it, obviously. And I'm just gonna go back into that same black shade that we've been using that entire time. A lot lighter, and definitely tap that extra off. And now I'm just going to kind of keep my eyes open and buff it out a little bit. Bringing it up towards my brow, or I guess my fake brow, and I'm doing it onto my brow bone as my brow bone is very, very low. Don't worry if it doesn't look exactly how you want it to at this stage. I'm going to be taking this colour Highway from the Beauty Base Smokey palette, and I'm going to be taking it on that same kind of fluffy brush we had before. I'm just going to be taking it under my eye. The reason I use grey at this point is just because too much black under the eyes and you risk it going very, very big and thick. And black is harder to blend than other eyeshadow colours. Most of the time it's a pressed pigment. So this grey colour is kind of a nice intermediary. I've got a lot of eyeliner, and the Revolution one that I'm specifically using is very easily blendable into eyeshadow. So this kind of helps create a black look, but smokier on the bottom layer. And then the final step with dark colours on the eyes, I'm just going to be taking this even fluffier eyeshadow brush that's pretty wide. I'm going to be taking this colour here, Iron, again from that same Smoky Beauty Bay palette, and just very, very, very gently kind of doing this along the top of the eye to finally smoke it out. So that's what the eyes roughly look like, and now I'm just going to take my fluffy brush again with a tiny, tiny bit of powder on it and just drop it on the floor apparently. Second time's a charm, and just wipe any kind of residual fallout from under my eyes. Sometimes I do this, I don't always, but I'm going to go in with the infamous Drip Drip by Made by Mitchell. And on a kind of like flattish brush like this, I just wipe a small amount of this like onto the rim, kind of like dry brush this off. I don't want much of this, like this is the first one I bought and I'm probably going to continue using this one forever. I'm just going to very, very lightly, like wiping this brush across, picking up a very small amount of the product, and because I've brushed most of it onto the side of this, there's not too much actually left on the dough for applicator. And then I'm just going to very, very gently pat this on the inner corner of my eye, bringing it slightly down onto that bottom bit. Kind of blend in the sparkles. Repeat this on the other eye, that you can re-dab a few times. If you notice the doe foot getting a little bit dry, just go into that kind of pulled up product on the side of the actual like tube and get a tiny bit more of that on the applicator. Putting that into that inner corner, and then with the cleaner side of the brush, pulling and dragging it. It's going to do two things. It's going to kind of blend the eyeshadow and it together, and also pull a tiny bit of that wet product still out, creating a slightly more of a blended effect. Do this before you put any mascara on. If you find it's a little bit like very pooled in areas or very concentrated and you don't like it, just go back in with this kind of brush with the grey product on. That's going to help mute some of the sparkles and blend it in a little bit better. I also will sometimes take some of the actual drip on my finger or on like an applicator. Currently I've got acrylic nails on, so I'm just taking it onto the corner of that and making sure I properly get in my corners. At this point I'm just going to take my Revolution Big Lash Loaded black mascara. I only got this because the tube was green. Any black mascara works. Because you've got so much black on your eye, the length of your lashes isn't really going to be too visible unless you're applying falsies, which I personally don't most of the time. So I just use black mascara to coat my lashes a few times and make them not stand out with all the foundation I put on them. So you just want to mascara your eyelashes as normal. Contrary to popular belief, black lipstick is not the only option for goth lips. There's hundreds of colours you can do whatever colour you want. A lot of people, I included, do like a black liner that merges into another colour that I will do another tutorial on another day. But just to keep things classic and simple, I don't normally go with black lipstick. I have to confess, it's not my everyday lipstick. I am a big fan of lip oils. I actually specifically have these brilliant lip oils. Again, they are by Makeup Revolution. They are these midnight lip oils. I don't know if they were a Halloween limited edition and they just have loads left in the warehouse, if they're a product they just don't stock in stores, but they have them on the website, and I'll show you what I mean. They're sort of a lip oil or lip gloss consistency that's dyed black, and when you put it on your lips, I don't know how obvious that is. It's not a very like drastic tone, and it definitely like has a lot of hydration and moisture to it. However, it's still different. It's nowhere near as heavy, or you need to have the need to reapply it, and quite often I will line my lips with black and then put this on if I don't want to do a black lipstick. It's a really good combination. I'll also quite often do black liner and like red lipstick or green with kind of like shades of blue, but I think because it's just a classic goth look that I'm trying to do, I'm going to go with the classic black lipstick. I have hundreds and I've used hundreds. This e.l.f. is a lipstick. I would normally use the black Jeffree Star one. I don't currently have it, so I've got this other one called Medusa, which is a quite nice colour. Normally I'd use liquid lipstick, but lipstick today. So I'm just going to start by lining them with the same eyeliner I've been using. You don't need a separate lip liner and eyeliner. If you really want to, for hygiene reasons, you can, but you don't need to buy lip liner and eyeliner. You can just survive with eyeliner. If you don't have black lipstick, you could also just colour in your lips with eyeliner and put like a little bit of Vaseline over the top, but you'd have to redo that throughout the day. Slightly more than you'd have to do with like a classic lipstick. And this e.l.f. one isn't too expensive. You can find it in some Boots in person, not all of them, but I found this one in person in a Boots, so it is possible. Just very hard. I'm just kind of messily lining them to just kind of get a little bit of an edge going that I can follow. And then mainly because I've got snake bites, I just kind of, or spider bite, I don't know which one they are, but I've got these two lip piercings. I'll just kind of like colour in the little corners past the rings. And then once I've lined, I'm just gonna fill it in with lipstick, not a difficult science or anything. If you notice any areas once you filled it in that don't look quite light, you can just kind of go back in with your pencil and just fill it in, smudge the lipstick around a little bit to kind of fill it out. If you want at this point, you can go in with like concealer or foundation and like carve out the lips like I did with the eyebrows. You don't have to do it, I personally don't. At this point I just take, this is probably the oldest trick in my makeup closet. Like I learned most of my makeup skills during the 2016 era and a lot of it is still very based off that, but this I think I learned even before that. I think I saw this on my dad's phone in a Facebook hack in like 2011 or something. Take like a single ply of toilet paper, place it over your lips, take a brush, like kind of slightly bite together, like take a brush with powder on it and then just it helps set it a little bit and mattify it down. No idea if this is true, I've been doing it for years. So this is the finished look. It's pretty simple, but even with like simple and easy looks, someone might need a tutorial, so I wanted to do that. And also there's not a lot of tutorials for very basic looks out there sometimes, so yeah. It's pretty classic goth look, it's simple, everyone I know has done some kind of variation on this. Yeah, it's not going to be like perfectly flat and perfectly smooth, there's texture, like I've got a lot going on around my eyebrow where I had to redo it multiple times, so don't worry if there's lots of texture, it is fine.